Here at Save It for Parts, I've always enjoyed obscure, weird computers, especially portable ones, as you might be able to tell from some of the stuff in my display case. And here we have yet another weird old portable computer, the Compaq Portable III. This is courtesy of Axeman Surplus Store in St. Paul, so thank you to Axeman for hooking me up with this really cool computer. I don't actually know if it works yet, so we're going to have to open it up, see what's going on, and see if we can make it work. Even though Axeman is my favorite local store, I often find myself struggling to explain just what they're all about. It's the kind of store you really have to see for yourself, and in fact, I have several videos going through various Axeman surplus outlets and just showing all of the weird and wacky stuff they have. And it is the perfect store for DIY people, craft people, folks who are into science, technology, or just finding strange stuff to purchase, which is one of my favorite things to do. So the Compaq Portable III came out in 1987. It is a PC 286 processor, and it's kind of a laptop, although not really. It's basically just a 286 desktop with a built-in flat panel plasma screen and a fold-down keyboard. And yeah, there is actually a desktop motherboard in here. There are desktop drives, and in fact, you can add ISA expansion cards to the back of it here. There's an expansion port, and I actually have an expansion bay with something rattling around in there. Something is loose, so we're gonna have to open this up and see what's going on in there. This particular one has a few issues. Some of the latches are kind of sketchy. It's a little bit dirty. It does mostly seem to work. The screen elevates here. The keyboard cable is in really rough shape. There's a lot of tape on this. A lot of exposed insulation and wiring. Now it is designed to be portable. It has a suitcase style handle on the top, so you can fold it all up. You can take it with you on the go, I guess on a plane or a bus or a car, take it to a job site, and it doesn't really have a battery, so you still have to plug it into a wall. Looks like this particular one is a model 2660, and it looks like the warranty is good until 1988, so only a little bit out of warranty. Let's see what's going on in this expansion bay. As you can tell, this just plugs into the back. I think this is actually called a backpack unit. You can pop the top open on this, and yeah, you can see we actually do have two ISA expansion slots and one ISA card, and I think this is what was rattling around in there. This is actually the drive bay cover for the main unit. It just got stored in here. Pretty dusty, a lot of cat hair in there. Some of it isn't even from my cats, so before we fire this up, we might actually open it up, give it a good vacuuming out, just to try to eliminate any immediate short circuits. We might still have some issues. A lot of these old computers like to pop their capacitors right away. And it looks like the card that is in there is an audio card. So we have line in, microphone, speaker, all that stuff. Oh, and this old joystick port, which I don't know if I've ever actually seen one of those in use. I see it on old computers. I never had a joystick like that. This is the expansion port. So this is what that backpack plugs into. Just has a little dust cover on it. So here's what this looks like on the inside. And even though you aren't really supposed to get in there to do any user service, there is a nice diagram on the inside of the cover that shows you what everything is and what all the dip switches do. I've got it cleaned up a little bit. We've got some of the worst of the 80s cat hair and dirt off of it. I'm gonna leave the expansion backpack off for now and just see if anything happens at all with the base unit. Well, the screen mostly works. That's a big plus. I do have a little bit of a line over here, so we might have one dead column of pixels. So it does not have a hard drive, and there's no disk in the floppy drive. So yeah, we've got a non-system disk error. I went on eBay and I actually found some system disks for this. Let's see if those work. Here are the drive connectors right here on the edge of the motherboard. So we have the power connectors and we have the data connectors. So while you can slide the entire drive assembly out, you still have to take the whole back off to actually connect drives to the motherboard. I act like I know what I'm doing here. I actually kind of grew up with computers like this. When I was a kid, we would get secondhand used computers that other people were throwing out, so they were never the newest thing. And even though I grew up in the 80s and 90s, something like this was kind of new to me, even if it was old at the time. You can open up this drive and clean it out. I could get a floppy cleaning disc, but those cost $50 on eBay. The whole drive here only costs $40. Definitely sounds a little funny. It sounds like something's struggling. I was hoping to get away with just a light cleaning on this drive. I ended up taking it out so I could try to lube up some of the motors, and I actually hear something rubbing, and I hear something click. and something has just fallen out of it and rolled away. This washer or ring fell out. I'm not even sure where that came from in here. Yeah, there's definitely some loose parts in here, and there's definitely something grinding inside of the main drive motor. So I think our drive might be physically dead. That is probably beyond my ability to fix. So the backup plan of this is a drive emulator. This is a modern day replacement for the old style spinning floppy disks, or actually even old style hard disk. This just uses a memory card. I actually have both a hard drive and a floppy drive emulator. This one is a Gotek, which I've used on this channel before with other old computers, and I don't even know what this is. I think I got that on eBay. The problem is these use slightly different connectors. This one is missing a pin here. I found a floppy drive cable in my junk downstairs, but it is missing a pin in a different spot. So yeah, sadly these cables are not all quite interchangeable. I have my floppy cable from Axeman Surplus, and we are running into a couple other issues with this. We've got the little Gotek floppy adapter. We also have a hard drive adapter over here, and neither one of these will work without first booting into the BIOS with that special config disk, which won't work because the floppy drive is physically not working. And these 720K, actually I think this is a 360K drive, these are kind of hard to find. The Gotek might be able to emulate a 720K or at least a 1.44 megabyte floppy, but the BIOS or the setup in here really wants a 720 or a 360. So it's kind of, and now we have a cat helping. Yes, hi Donnie, you just have to help with every part of the video. Anyway, long story short, I don't know if this Gotek adapter is going to work. This is the old style one without the flash floppy firmware. I do have another one with flash floppy, but it's installed in the Osborne computer right now, so I might have to dig that one out, or maybe we'll have to find another one. Either way, we've got a little more work to do. I might have to order something else for this, and we'll have to come back to it in a little bit. So we're back with the Compaq Portable. I have the new Gotek drive. Now this one is similar to what other people have said will work with this, supposedly. I think I have it set in 1.44 megabyte mode. We're using a 720 kilobyte disk image. I've gone through just about every disk image I can find online, and they all result in this load failure. Supposedly another trick is to mount a 720K DOS image on a 1.44 megabyte configured Gotek, get that to boot, and then go back to the 720K diagnostic or BIOS setup disk, the one that we actually need to get anything else working, load that into the system. I can't get any of that to work either. It just keeps giving me disk errors on any disk image that I've tried. I think I have all the jumpers set correctly on the Gotek. It's definitely trying to read from the Gotek. It just doesn't like it. So I've been at this across multiple hours for multiple days, multiple weeks actually, because it took a couple weeks for the Gotek drive to show up. So this thing has been clogging up my office for almost a month now. Well, this is the most progress I've seen in ages. I was starting to think either the drive controller on the Compaq was bad, or that it just was not possible to use this with the Gotek adapter. But we've got MS-DOS, or at least part of MS-DOS going. This is DOS 3.3. And we have a prompt. After weeks of working on this thing, we have a DOS prompt. I know this is a really small success and we're not actually getting anywhere productive yet, but this is a huge step forward with this Compaq 3. Less progress. We are still having some read errors here. Alright, I've managed to lock the thing up. I think Control-Alt-Delete does work on here. We also seem to be losing more lines on the LCD over here. And we have the setup utility working, finally. So the secret was 1.2 megabyte disk images. All the information I could find online said that this will only read 360K or 720K disk images or disks, but no, it actually wants 1.2 megabyte disk images, and that is what I have on the Gotek right now. The Gotek still thinks it's a 1.44 megabyte floppy drive, but it's reading 1.2 megabyte images, and I've gotten this to work by combining two 360K disks onto a single 1.2 megabyte image using WinImage. Anyway, making more progress. And there we go. That has been the problem with the Gotek, is that the system thinks it's a 1.2 megabyte floppy drive. I don't know why that is. Again, every website that I found online says this defaults to 360 or
or 720K, not 1.2 megabytes. So I don't know why that changed. Maybe there's a different controller chip in here. Who knows? So we're in what's essentially the BIOS setup. I noticed we're still having some issues with the screen. We're getting more and more lines flickering and flaking out. So I don't know how long the display on this is going to keep working. Unfortunately, it's having some problems. Now this is usually where I would set up the hard drive type. However, since we have that old school BIOS battery that is completely dead, we might need to actually rip that out and replace it. And it is a weird type of BIOS battery. The SD card that's on this hard drive adapter, or hard drive emulator, basically I want this to act like a big hard drive, big for this era, about 500 megabytes, but yeah, we're gonna have to get F-disk working to format that and then put stuff on there. It still takes a few tries to get this to boot. Like, even with the right boot image selected on the Gotek, it doesn't always work the first time. Continuing struggles with this. I can still get it to boot, usually, from that very limited DOS 3.3 version. I've not been able to get it to boot from any other MS-DOS disk, even a 1.2 megabyte disk, so still very inconsistent. I can get it to read other MS-DOS disks or disk images. Unfortunately, this one seems to be in French, and I think it's telling me there's no hard drive. This is about the biggest hard drive that the BIOS will accept. There is one bigger in the help list, but it won't let me enter the code for that one. Now, I'm not sure that it's actually saving my BIOS settings. It's supposed to save the BIOS as long as the computer has external power. I think the BIOS settings saved that time. I didn't get the error that the settings were wiped out when I rebooted, and I didn't have to push F1 to continue. However, French MS-DOS still says pass to disk doer, so still can't find this external thing as a hard drive. I'm not 100% sure if this is compatible with the Compaq 3. I was hoping it would be. I've seen other people use similar devices to this, but I don't know if I've seen anybody use this exact SD card hard drive emulator. So I might just be stuck with floppy images on the Gotek. I wanted to see if I could get some games working on this. Of course, Doom would be the classic, but that will not fit on a floppy drive image. I'm trying the Neuromancer game from the 1980s. Unfortunately, the graphics are not working, but we get some sweet MIDI music. And I've had basically no luck with any of the higher-end games that I've tried from floppy images, including Lode Runner and Castle Wolfenstein. They're just a little too fancy for this 286 processor and this machine. If my voice sounds weirder than normal, I do have a cold right now, so that's not helping my mental process when I try to figure this out. All right, we finally have a game working. I screwed that up already. So I was really hoping to use the Compaq Portable 3 as more of a standalone computer and not just a dumb terminal to something else, but it seems like it might have the most utility as just a screen keyboard terminal, and I seem to be having some issues with that as well. Trying yet another terminal program. I've showed this thing in a couple prior videos with other old computers. It basically makes the antique computer think that it's hooked up to a telephone line modem, and then the little ESP32 module here actually connects to my Wi-Fi network, so I can dial in, essentially, to the internet. The folks that made that modem have a handy cheat sheet, so if you want one of these for your vintage computers, Arcane Byte is the place to find it. I'll throw some links to them in the description. One thing that keeps fouling me up on this is the escape key is way over here. Back in the 80s, computer manufacturers didn't know what a keyboard should look like, so they just put keys wherever they felt like it. So now that we're connected to that modem, let's see if I can get beyond that to something on the internet. Hey, there we go. We're on the level 29 BBS. So this is kind of fun. I can go through this bulletin board system just like it's the 1980s, reading a bunch of cool messages from people. I did not have internet until the late 90s when I was a kid, so yeah, I kind of missed out on the interactive part of 80s computers. I got to play around with the standalone single-player mode on 80s computers like this, but yeah, we did not have internet connection because I lived on an island in Alaska. So let's go ahead and spam the thing. Hey, come on. It's too much cat. Alright, well, we've just had the classic cat on keyboard error, so I guess I might as well wrap up this message. And while we're at it, let's look at some games. I think Space Invaders might be a little too slow for this, or I've got the baud rate set wrong. I'm gonna see if I can bump up the baud rate on this thing first. Alright, I seem to have gotten stuck in, I think I'm in host mode. I don't know what's happened here. Oh yeah, that is much faster at 9600 baud. So we can do all of the usual Retro Campus stuff like Wikipedia, which is always fun. Let's see if we can find an entry for this computer. We can look at the news. Alright, this BBS has a few more games than the other one, so let's see what we can get going. Zork is always a big classic. This is what makes Zork such a great game. 10 seconds in, I'm already breaking and entering and robbing this house. So if anybody's really into vintage computers and video games, it looks like there's a convention coming up in June. Well, I'm having some fun with the Compaq Portable III here. This is an interesting form factor. It's kind of a cool computer. This definitely would have been a lot of fun in the late 80s, early 90s when I was playing around with old computers like this. Nowadays, it's a little bit more of a novelty. I did have some struggle getting it working. We are cheating quite a bit to get this functional. We have a fake floppy drive, we have a fake modem, we have a fake hard drive, although I haven't gotten that to work. In the future, it would be nice to actually have this working with an internal fixed disk or hard drive or just the SD card hard drive emulator, but unfortunately the one I have here does not seem to work with the BIOS on this thing. And again, I don't know if that's due to an incompatibility with the hardware or if it's something to do with the BIOS battery being dead. Yeah, there are a couple more things I could do with this. I could replace the BIOS battery, I could get the hard drive working, I could fix the keyboard cable. That is a very common problem with these Compaq portables. They had just a very fragile and crumbly keyboard cable, and it's a well-known issue with these old computers. The other main problem with the physical hardware is the lines or errors here on the gas plasma display. I don't know if there's anything I can actually do about that. I think that's just something that's worn out over time in the actual LCD matrix here. I am super glad that we got the GoTech adapter working. There's a lot of inconsistent information about these Compaq portables and how you actually boot them up, how you actually get into the BIOS. A lot of people say you have to have a physical actual floppy disk, and that's why I bought actual floppy disks on eBay for it, but unfortunately the physical floppy drive was damaged to the point where I can't get it to work. So being able to boot it off of the GoTech adapter is a huge benefit, and it just took me a while to figure out that it's 1.2 megabytes, not the 360K or 720K that everybody online says. No, this particular unit defaults to 1.2 megabytes, so if you have one of these yourself, then try every different disk image size that you can. If one of them doesn't work, just try all of them. If you can't tell, I'm getting towards the end of the video here because I've kind of run out of time and patience and attention span for this. It's taken me quite a while to get it working. It's taken me quite a while to get to a point where I can get into MS-DOS, I can get into the BIOS, I can get out onto the internet or at least onto some BBS systems. And there are a ton more things I could do with this computer. I could use it to Telnet or possibly SSH into a Linux computer. I could use the expansion bay here, which we have basically not played with. Of course, it would be great to get Doom working on this, but to do that, I think I will need a hard drive because Doom is a little bit bigger than a 1.2 megabyte disk image. And it would be cool to get Windows 3.1 on here. I have seen people do that. I think, again, that is theoretically possible. Again, we would need a hard drive or other fixed storage. I did briefly try to get minimum Windows, onto a 1.2 megabyte disk image, but that didn't work either. We'll need a hard drive if we want to do anything more complicated than simple DOS games or simple modem terminal applications. Thank you to all my Patreon supporters for helping me afford random, obscure computer technology. Fortunately, some of these things are fairly generic and they will probably show up in future videos. The Wi-Fi modem, the GoTech adapter, those are useful for all kinds of vintage tech projects. If you'd like to support my channel and see my videos a week early, I will throw the Patreon link down in the description. And of course, it always helps to like and subscribe. That helps the channel grow and helps me put out more content like this. Finally, thank you to everyone out there for watching, and we'll see you next time.